Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Top 10 edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Hi, everybody.
Ruben Bressler.
Let's rock.
Jesus.
Let's do it.
Any chance for a Legends of the Hidden
ready.
Temple reference?
Well, I'm going to talk about a lot of legends today, so this was by design.
Well, you're also on a show with two legends. So
It's true. Wait, hold on. Me and who else?
Oh, I love it. I love it. Look.
No comment.
We also began with our choice of the top comment from last week in a segment we call Honorable Mention. Well, Ruben will tell us who was the most eloquent and letting us know what card we did not choose as one of our top 10 token makers. Ruben?
Our top comment this week shared an opinion with a couple of commenters, and I knew that one of them had to win. This week's winner is Jujubees? Evan, you missed 3 dudes seriously. You should be ashamed.
Branding, Evan. Consistency is what people count on. I picked Bridge from Below. I did my parts.
True.
Ruben picked some red spells. He did his parts.
It's a weird, I'm not gonna lie, it's a weird feeling to be well known for getting something stupidly wrong. Like crazy, from the heights all the way down
recovery,
wrong.
though.
It's You're known for a lot of things. You have a wide swath of knowledge and input.
Sure.
But among the things you're known for, when it comes to tokens in particular,
You are correct.
Spectral Procession.
Yeah.
Spectral Procession was a part of the token I had made at one point, which was really cool.
How many of
and
those have you signed?
a bunch. Not as many anymore, as I've not gone to a lot of events, but back when they were certainly given out, that's really cool. Also, that was one of the great, and I've mentioned this on the show before, but one of the great humbling moments was GP Richmond when my token was part of the package of what you got as playing.
Oh,
yeah. And people were lined up for hours to get my autograph, which is obviously super flattering or whatever. And then at one point, somebody walks up and I'm like, hey, do you have a favorite Magic show or something, or it's one that you liked, or a Magic set review or something? And he's like, I don't know who you are, just you're on the thing and I wanted to get it signed. And I was like,
I ignored you with that, GP.
and I was like, okay, all right, well, I just
Yep.
got taken down on my peg on that. Mr. Magic Show, I know you are, so whatever.
That reminds me of the time I was at an event locally, and I was at I think it was a regionals event, and this guy comes up to me and he goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're here." And I'm like, "Yeah, I live in the area, it's fun." And he's like, I love what you do. I love reading your articles. Are you playing what I think you're playing today?" And I was like, "Well, no, I'm actually just here for side events." And he goes, "You're not playing Merfolk?" And I was like, Who do you think I am? And he goes, "You're Mrs. Mulligan, right?" And I'm like,
Yikes.
Ouch.
for those playing along at home, she's like 5'4", like a cute little bubbly thing, and I'm a big old Amazon. Like, we look nothing alike. And I was like, "No, I'm I'm Aaron Campbell. I play dead things." And he was like, "Oh yeah, you're nice too." And I'm like, oh.
You're nice too.
That's really good. You're nice too is great.
Although the joke's on him because Mrs. Mulligan is now playing Dredge, so
Well, there you go.
we got you.
Okay.
I don't think... Well, I'll have to think about it. I'm not sure I've ever been mistaken, although I look like every other white dude, so it's fine.
Congratulations to Jujubees. Please contact Aaron.
Wait, hold on. Jujubees?
Jujubees! Please contact Aaron on social media before she blocks you on all of them. Thanks again.
Close.
That's
We're
right.
almost there.
Thanks again to CoolStuffInc.com for sponsoring this giveaway, and stay tuned for our top 10 list this week, and maybe you can win next week's free gift certificate. Yeah, that would be sweet, because we're talking about Ikoria Cards. We have spent a non-zero amount of the pre-show, definitely a bunch this Wednesday, where we get to talk about how freaking cool this set is.
It's a really cool set.
It's really, really fun.
Yeah, it's a really cool set, and the impact is being felt across multiple formats. I've been keeping up, but I didn't get a chance to play this past weekend because I had other plans. But, I've been keeping up with all the brewing and the screenshots that people are sharing. And, it's just a brewer's paradise right now, which I think makes for really good sets and really good formats. And, obviously, these cards are super powerful. Things are being broken left and right. And it's good watching, good people watching.
I will say, if Wizards of the Coast is merely interested in getting people talking, I'm not sure I've heard more scuttlebutt about a set in recent memory. I mean, certainly more than Theros Beyond Death.
Oh yeah.
Possibly more than Throne of Eldraine.
Possibly, yeah. I mean,
and like in a long time, I haven't heard that. And part of that maybe is because everybody's stuck inside and they've got nothing better to do than tweet and Facebook.
Right.
But the impact that the cards have, the coolness factor of the set can't be understated.
It's true. Moving here, so we'll get sort of the list started. I'll say right now, I have no companions on my list purposefully. I think that mechanic is trash. I think they screwed up big time. I want to erase all companions from Magic and say that was a weird, like, drug-fueled dream we had one time in 2020, and then never speak of it again. That's just me.
I only have one, and that's because it's I like it for petty reasons.
I make no such promises about my list.
Your list can be whatever you want it to be. I'm just letting you know that's one was a rule for me because I didn't like it. And
the ability is certainly going to be in contention for the Magic Mikesy for dumbest WotC decision. That's for sure.
It's pretty high up there. And that said, either way, let's get to our top 10 list. Aaron, what is your number 10 top 10 Ikoria card?
My number 10 not only is a red card, but it's also higher on someone else's list. So I'm leaning into my Rubenness.
Ooh,
what?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Amazing.
It does happen.
I told you I have range.
Ruben, what's your number 10?
My number 10 is probably my favorite uncommon to draft around in the new set. I've been doing a lot of draft, and my cycling is just such a cool ability. It just makes everything better. It makes everything smoother. It makes me feel good. And when you get rewarded for playing that ability, that makes me feel good. And there's a lot of good payoff cards in the cycling archetype, but nothing makes me happier inside. Nothing rustles my jimmies quite like Zenith Flair. 2 colorless red-white instant. Zenith Flair deals X damage to any target and you gain X life, or X is the number of cards with a cycling ability in your graveyard. It's very easy to Zenith Flair for like 8 in this format. Late in the game. You have 2 of them in your deck. The early one can knock off a 4/4 or a 3/3, and then the last one can dome them for the last 12 or whatever. You pretty much, you get to War Leader's Helix at 4.
Right.
And you're not losing that much value at 3. You're playing Lightning Helix for 4 mana, but it's limited. You'll take what you can get. Right. Once you get above that threshold, though, it gets ridiculous. And it's very easy to dig into because you have so much cycling, of course, in your deck. It's just a fun card.
This is just one of those. This is a nice example of the uncommons as rares in terms of power level for the set. This is the perfect type of rare in a set that focuses on cycling as a major mechanic. Is here's your giant rare payoff, and instead of like, why don't we just get that uncommon? Why don't we see one of those like every draft or so, essentially on average or whatever. But Zenith Flair is a huge payoff. It is super duper fun, super powerful. Gaining X life as well as the damage is not to be underestimated. The format itself, particularly limited, is just like we've brought rocket launchers to the gunfight and we're just swinging and smashing, and you're playing 7/7s and I Zenith Flare for 7 and then you do this and I mutate that to kill that. Like you're just throwing everything back and forth. It's amazing. And this is just the kind of haymaker that you see sort of come out of that. My number 10 here is also a red and white card. How about that? On that wavelength. I was playing Constructed, and Constructed, barring the stupid companions, has been super cool. And I've been, of course, playing with a companion because I'm not an idiot. And I was playing. I mean, look, if they're going to give you the guns, you might as well fire them off. Anyway, so I was playing with the Luris deck with a black-red, it's, super sacrifice, with the cat in the oven and all that stuff. Yep. And I was just doing all sorts of stuff. And I was getting this guy down to like 3 life. And I just smashed this kid. And he was playing just like red-white lands, red-white stuff. Nothing was really doing much of nothing. And then at the end of my turn, and this is when he was at 3. Then on my turn, he says, raise the alarm. And I was like, what? And then on his turn, he paid 3 mana and played the 3 mana Chandra and made 2 elementals with haste. And then he played Winota, Joiner of Forces, and blew me out of the water. Agent of Treachery is a human. Hold on. Let's just say what this does, okay? It's a big old ball of text. It's a mythic. A white, red, and 2 generic mana for a 4/4 legendary human warrior. Whenever a non-human creature you control attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put a human creature card from among them onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. It gains indestructible until end of turn. Put the rest of the cards on the bottom of your library in a random order. Agent of Treachery is a human, y'all. So... it was a deck full of charming princes or whatever, Prince Charming guy. And so 4 of those, and definitely 4 Agent Treacheries. And the beauty of Raise the Alarm is that they're not human soldiers. They're just soldiers. The beauty of the elementals, of course, is they're not humans either. And I went scouring. There's only like one other card that makes non-human soldiers, and it's Finale of Glory.
There's a couple. I mean, so the switch over happened in Theros, so that we aren't mutating onto soldier tokens, and we aren't, Winoda-ing in standard for more than like 3 months,
right?
Because it is absurd. And I've seen some really good Twitch clips of the turn 4 Winoda attack, agent, charming prince, take everything from you. Your game's just over on turn 4.
Yep.
It's been
and
some
she's
pretty
also
good
not
ones.
hard to build around. Like I saw some, I don't know if it was Frank Karsten, but somebody had posted the math in terms of like, how many humans versus non-humans you need to put in your deck to really maximize her and to make sure that you're hitting. And it's not difficult. It's really not.
No, and Winota, it was just like good stats for the card itself. The deck itself is a little, it's like super swingy. Like Gyruda is more consistent.
For sure.
But when you hit it like that, when you hit that magical Christmas land of
good.
Treachery Charming, it's like it's
especially
unreal.
in those colors too.
To just like come out of nowhere and snag it.
And the fact that you could just play it like it's an enchantment. You don't have to attack with it. It has an ability the turn you attack with it, like a Legion War Boss or a Goblin Rabble Master, but way more swingy, way more flashy.
And here is something that I think I even missed when I was playing the deck. When you reveal her off of her ability, you can put her into play, get rid of the one that doesn't have indestructible, because the new one you put into play now has indestructible, which is awesome.
Yikes.
This card is so cool. I absolutely love it. Let's move on here to number 9. Aaron, what's number 9?
So it's no secret that I love cycling. It was one of the reasons I loved Amonkhet. Living End was my first ever modern deck. So any excuse to, possibly put things in the graveyard or just taking cards that might be dead and then having use for them as a draw, I really, really like. Just when I thought I'd seen everything you could do with cycling, we got a couple really, really cool cards in Ikoria. One of them being my number 9, which is Unpredictable Cyclone. So Unpredictable Cyclone is 3 colorless and 2 red. It is an enchantment. It says if a cycling ability of another non-land card would cause you to draw a card, instead exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a card that shares a card type with that cycled card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost, then put the exiled cards that weren't cast this way on the bottom of your library in a random order, and it also has cycling with 2 colorless. I fantasize about putting this in a Living End deck, especially if you're up against like a control deck or a deck with a lot of graveyard hate, and then you just cast crappy creatures for free.
Right.
There's been talk of trying to find a way to possibly storm with this, which of course I'm completely here for in standard. But I just love this. I love the art. I love all the possibilities with it. It's just really exciting, and I think it's just a card that's begging to be broken.
Really neat payoff card for the cycling deck that takes advantage of the ability in a way that I haven't seen a cycling deck do before, which... there's a lot of really cool payoffs for the cycling deck. Zenith Flair and a bunch of the other uncommons. The big Dirtle Turtle that you just cycle 4 times and then end up with an 8/8. That's really cool too.
Right.
But this is so different and comes at such a unique angle. I really love this card.
This is a beautiful way of showing the chaos of red while showing you can still kind of control it a little bit based on what cycling cards you have in your deck. And the fact that this has cycling, I think, it just feels like there was definitely a world where this did not have cycling, and then they're like, "Why don't we just
have to give it?
Why don't we just put cycling on it?" And someone's like,
"They did that with a lot of cards in this set." To be fair, it felt like, well, this didn't need cycling, and it's just like, well, we could also just put cycling on.
But it's still really dope, right? Okay, cool. What's your number 9, Ruben?
My number 9 is, I made no promises about no companions. And my number 9, my whole 10 to 6 really focuses on limited.
Okay.
And for my money, the best card you can open in sealed, and one of the best cards you can open in draft, is Gigantha the Wellspring.
Mm-hmm.
It's a legendary creature, elemental elk, for 4 colorless and a red-green hybrid mana, 5 total, for a 5/5 elemental elk. Somebody call Marshal Sutcliffe, because Elmer's here. It has companion. No card in your starting deck has more than one of the same mana symbol in its mana cost. If this card is your chosen companion, you may cast it once from outside the game. And it has tap, add Wooburg. This mana can't be spent to pay generic mana costs. So it's a 5/5 for 5 that you basically get to play for free. It also taps for 5 and gives you some late game cool stuff to do if you happen to have like Back for More or Titan's Nest or Whirlwind of Thought or some other things to do. Or you just, you have 6 lands in play and then you have 7 mana worth of stuff in your hand. Oh well, I guess we have to play our Gigantha so that we can play a Pacifism and a big creature in the same turn. But it's also just a 5/5 for 5. Like, it just is fine by itself. Like, you just play regular Magic, you just trade off, they kill your thing, you kill their thing, and you just end up with a 5/5 at the end of it. The card is absurd. I've seen it leaking over into Constructed. I saw an Affinity deck that had Gigantha, because it's kind of free in Affinity, because most of that stuff I think it was in Pioneer-ish kind of Affinity. You had like in Soul Artifact and a bunch of Ornithopters and things like that, and nothing really has 2 of the same casting cost in that deck anyway, so you just get it for free anyway, which is kind of cool.
Which is also kind of the problem.
It's also kind of the problem, is that it's free. It's like a free splash. Card is absurd. Card is very powerful. I felt like I could never lose if I ever got Gigantha first or second in any draft or in sealed.
I tried not to be the guy to pile on and to be super negative and to just trash something because it sounds like it's not okay. Companion's not okay. We have lived with it. It took about 4 seconds to realize you're not going to play in a constructed format unless you have this thing near you in some way, and the best decks are going to abuse them the most. And I just can't do it.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough because you want to play Magic, and now there are just so many. Well, some of us do. But you want to play on the same level playing field to start with.
Right.
Your opponent gets to be level playing field. You want to do broken stuff? Sure,
I'm gonna do powerful things.
But you can't do broken stuff if your opponent is also doing broken stuff with 8 cards, right? It just doesn't feel right.
Just give it time, Aaron. You'll see. Anyway. Number 9 for me, as we move on here, is what also could be a Godzilla, which is really cool. I really like the different alternate arts. The comic book alternate arts were super amazing, and this one is also really, really terrific. But they have this is a wedge set. They won't like call it a wedge set, but it is it kind of is. But it's weird how they just went on and on about Mardu. It's Sultai, and now they got these weird new names for these triomes, and no one's ever heard this crap, and no one's saying anything about like their culture or whatever. Yeah. They're like terrible. I mean, like, is it just me? They just feel bad. Like Regua or Reguia.
I'm trying not to judge them because I said when Cons came out, I said I would never shift over to Sultai or Jeskai, and I had to eat a lot of crow because now I say Sultai and Temur and things like that, and we still say Temur Delver and things like that. So I don't want to judge them, and then a year from now, I'm like Indatha girl.
Right. I don't think we're gonna start calling it Rogrin Control.
I don't think so.
Is my thing.
Right.
I don't think that Ketria Delver is going to catch on.
But it might be my drag name.
But what they have done is provide ultimatums, which maybe we'll have some on the list, who knows. But what they've also given you at the Mythic slot is a series of awesome legendary creatures, and my number 9 is one of them. What would alternatively be known as BioQuartz Space Godzilla is Brokos, Apex of Forever, or Brokos, I don't know, whichever. It's a blue, a green, a black, and 2 generic mana, so 5 mana for a 6/6 mythic legendary Nightmare Beast Elemental. Really, Nightmare Beast Elemental? It has Mutate of 2 green, a Dimir mana, and 2 generic mana. So for a total of 5 mana, if you cast this spell for its mutate cost, put it over or under target non-human creature you control, they mutate into the creature on top plus all abilities from under it. God, that's so weird. But it has Trample. It is a 5 mana 6/6 Trampler, and you may cast Brokos Apex of Forever from your graveyard using its mutate ability, which means specifically you have to mutate onto a non-human creature. You can't just play it onto an open board. It has to be mutating, be joining with something. This card is awesome. I love it. I've opened it in limited. I've played it in sealed. It is a super huge bomb. It is a monster card. I've been trying to make this thing work in constructed because it's just so much fun. I love the mutate creatures. I love the mutate gameplay. Do I like how complex it is? Not really. But, it works amazingly well for Arena. Like Arena, and I'm guessing Magic Online.
It works really well on Arena.
Right. I haven't seen how it works online, but I know how it works on Arena. And it's like, it's just smooth and it makes sense and the animations are cool and the power level is high. And that's why I think this card is absolutely terrific.
Yeah. Brokos is one of the mutators I really am okay with mutating because it doesn't 2-for-1 yourself when you get killed. A lot of the mutators, Vulpikeet's very powerful, but then you just get 2-for-1, right?
Yeah.
This one you can bring back from the graveyard, which is a huge deal, and I think Aaron can sign up for on that one.
Right.
All of the colors, individual colors, have a creature type associated with their color. So the 3 color legends are the 3 creature types associated with the colors. So you've got nightmares in black, for example.
Right. That's really
and
cool.
that's how it sort of... I'm sorry?
I was just going to say, I wonder, can you mutate from the graveyard? Like, I'm thinking if this is in a Muldrotha deck.
So this one can mutate from the graveyard, even without Muldrotha in play. If this card makes it through into Constructed, I think that Gilded Goose is going to be where we want to be with Brokos. It's too bad we can't play Brokos and Oko, the broken Oko with Brokos at the same time.
But
so that we can mutate onto 3/3 Elks.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Man.
But, yeah.
And specifically, if you take a look at Daniel Warren Johnson's comic book version of Brokos, it is incredible. The color, the styling, it just looks amazing, and I love it. Let's move on here to number 8. Aaron, what's number 8?
So when you're me, and spoiler season or preview season comes around, you get tagged in a lot of things. Specifically, it has to do with, graveyards or dead things, Golgari colors. That's a big reason why I get tagged in things. And my number 8 is a card that came out, and I was immediately tagged in this. It's everything I want to be doing in life, and I'm sure I'll find a home for it somewhere. My number 8 is Skull Prophet. So Skull Prophet is just a black and a green. That's all you need. It's a creature type human druid with 3 power and 1 toughness. You can tap it and add a black or a green, which is cool. You got yourself a little dork there. Everyone loves that. But the problem with dorks is eventually you don't need them to dork anymore. Or you draw them in the mid or late game and you're like, oh, I just have an Arbor Elf and that feels bad. Well, never fear, because Skull Prophet has another ability. You can tap them and put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. So it's not only a mana dork, it's also sort of a library dork or a graveyard dork, which is really great. I really like this card. I think there's definitely a home for it in commander decks if you're doing any sort of Golgari ramping, possibly even a home in standard. I really like this.
This card, man, if you showed this to somebody who started playing Magic in 1995.
Yes.
And you were just like, here's a Skull Prophet, and you said it's a 3/1 for black-green and it taps for a black or a green, they would say, what's the drawback?
Yeah.
And you said it doesn't have one. In fact, it has another ability that allows you to mill yourself for 2. And they would go, you're lying.
You're lying. That's not how Magic works.
That's not Magic. Skull Prophet's absurd. It is a 2-mana creature with 3 power. Like, a 3/1. You could just have a vanilla 3/1 in black-green in 1995, and that would be good.
That'd been hot stuff back then.
Make it a mana dork. Like, it does everything. It taps for mana, it attacks for 3, it fills your graveyard, it does everything you want it to do.
Well, it's a nice example of sort of the power leaps that we've been taking lately, where it's a 2-mana 3/1. Okay, that's pretty good stats. Okay, it taps for mana. Okay, that's really strong. And it does this other third thing that it didn't necessarily have to do, but it's doing, and it's great. And we suddenly have Millstone on with legs.
Compare this to there was a what's it called? There's like an apprentice from Innistrad that is a colorless and a blue for a 1/2. It says tap, mill 1, add a colorless.
Yeah.
Compare that to this, and it's embarrassing.
Yeah. It's like different, I mean, just different sort
Deranged
of
assistance,
levels.
that's what it's called.
Yeah, deranged assistance, great. Yeah, Skull Prophet, in and of itself, it's just, it does what you want it to do basically at every stage of the game.
So stupid.
And that's why it's so incredible. Ruben, what's number 8?
My number 8, for my money, is the best removal spell at common in Ikoria, and one of the best removal spells at common we've seen in a long time. A lot of the problem with the cycling deck is you do need to have lands in your deck, and then you end up with a glut, right? If you cycle every card and you have, even if you have 13 lands in your 40 card limited deck, if you're cycling once or twice every turn, you're just going to end up with half your deck in your graveyard and like 8 lands. So like, it's less than exciting. What if there were a way that you could not only kill your opponent's creatures, but also filter away some of those lands? And there's a couple good ways to do it in this set. There's Facet Reader, Cathartic Reunion is good, but killing a creature while doing that, man, that is quite good. And that's what you get with Fire Prophecy. Fire Prophecy is a colorless and red instant at common. Yes. In Ikoria. Fire Prophecy deals 3 damage to target creature. You may put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library. If you do, draw a card. So, you know, it's a See Beyond kind of effect. It might even be able to leak its way over into Constructed for those combo decks that really want to have their combo piece in the deck. You know, I've seen enough See Beyonds in like Protean Hulk style decks that you want to have the stuff in your library to be able to see Fire Prophecy leaking its way in. Oh, by the way, you'll play every single copy of this in every single limited deck that you possibly have red mana in.
So this was my number 10.
Nice.
I really like the design of this. You know, I said before, it's not that I don't like red. I just like red when it's being used in a different way. You know, I'm not a fan of the lava spike, like, 3 damage. Like, any idiot can do that. But, you know, I love the outpost sieges. You know, I love the Cyclone. You know, I love this. You know, it's cheap. It still does something red is known for in burn and damage. The card draw is really exciting. Red had been kind of leaning on this exile thing for a while. We saw it with Light Up the Stage, and this is something different. I love that Wizards do better than to make it a discard. You know that someone was like, we gave those
bottom of the library
enough.
is the place to put a card if you actually want it gone.
I like that, though. I like that. Yeah, I like the whole thing is just fresh, exciting. It's instant speed. I would play this. I think it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. This I've already played with this in Constructed. I've seen it played in Constructed already. The idea of being able to filter through a card is just much powerful than like Jaya's Greeting. Like, you could scry one, or you could just replace something you don't want, which is huge. And of course, in Limited, it's absolutely terrific. And it's just one of those sort of, you know, we're just inching up there, sort of higher and higher on what your 2 mana is getting you and in a removal spell.
I mean, early on, I thought that the best common in Limited was going to be Keep Safe. I was like, that's the colorless and the blue. It's like a cryptic command in Limited, right? Turns out it's this. Turns out it's just don't die and filter.
Well,
like,
right. And I think one of the things we spoke about earlier was that, you know, the threats in Ikoria are amazing, and the answers are also amazing.
It's like Pacific Rim. You've got everything clashing together. Super powerful.
Very cool. Aaron, let's see. No, we talked about you were number 8. Sorry, we're at my number 8. I was messing that up. So for my number 8, this is a card that I love because it's very simple, but it's very powerful. I think it fits the exact colors the right way. I think it really shows a huge momentous moment. I love how it's sort of big and grand. It's what you would want from a spell that you want to be part of a huge cycle, part of a monster effect on the game. When it just has, 7 words here? When you pay 2 black and 3 white and 2 red, and you destroy all non-land permanents your opponents control, just take them, just put them in a little pile. We'll put a little pile for you, and we'll put them all over there in the graveyard, all over there. Really, really sweet. Because I literally earlier today played Fires of Invention, and then the next turn, my Fae of Wishes got me a Ruinous Ultimatum, and I Ruinous Ultimatum them, and it was amazing. This card is nuts. To be officially Ruinous Ultimatum, 2 black, 3 white, 2 red, a rare sorcery, destroy all non-land permanents your opponent's control. It's beautiful. It's just a freaking chef's kiss of a monster spell.
Of all of the ultimatums, this one both confuses and irks me, but also makes me the happiest because of how simple it is. The red mana is kind of confusing to me. Like, I feel like this could have just been 4 black, 3 white, and it could have done the same thing. I'm not really sure what the red mana is doing, but it's so simple, it's so clean, it just feels right.
Yeah, it's just it's what you would think of, sort of the Mardu mana would be doing, is wrecking everything you got.
Excuse me, it's not Mardu, it's something else.
It's Ragu, or it's, I don't know.
Ragu, it's Ragu
there
mana.
There you go. Yep.
It's,
Ragon.
Hold on. Savai is the red, white, black.
Yep. Savai control, that's where we're going. Sure.
Savai control.
Goodness.
Savai aristocrats coming soon. Nope, not doing it.
Goodness gracious. All right. So that was our number 8. Let's move on here to number 7. Let's see, Aaron, what's number 7?
My number 7 is a card I'm really excited about, and I'm glad that Wizards revisited this space. I'm a really big fan of cards like Pilgrim's Eye, Skittering Surveyor, and Commander. I think they're criminally underplayed, and they're very rare. Like, the thing that it does, sort of this ETB on a very tiny creature that gets you a land, there aren't many cards that do that. Believe me, I've gone through Gather, I've gone through Scryfall, trying to find more cards like that, because, when you're trying to find ramp for certain colors in Commander, you don't have many options, unless you just want to face roll a bunch of signets. And so I really like these cards. They do something really useful. They smooth out your mana. They make sure you're keeping your land drops going. And then they are also bodies if you need sack fodder, mutate fodder, anything like that. So I was really excited to see that Wizards gave us another card in that vein. My number 7 is Farfinder. So Farfinder is 3 colorless. It is a creature type fox with vigilance. And it says when Farfinder enters the battlefield, try saying that 3 times fast, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle your library, and it is a 1/1. So I love cards like this. It will absolutely have a home in any of my Commander decks, specifically like, black or blue, colors that don't really have a lot of ramp. You can sacrifice this, you can make it bigger, you can tap it if you have any sort of convoke shenanigans going on. I love cards like this, and I'm always happy to see more of them. And this is ramp, okay? Yeah. I said this was ramp on Twitter, and everybody came out of the woodwork and be like, well, technically it's not. It's right. Ramp. Fight me. It's ramp.
Really?
You too?
It's fixing.
Ruben, hold my earrings.
It's fixing.
I'll give you
fixing. Fine. Foxfinder's great.
I'll give you consistency. Sure.
Consistency. It's a body that you can put in any deck. Yep. Not just green, to be able to fix your mana, that you can also put your mutate cards onto and have them have vigilance, which is particularly important for stuff like Parcel Beast, which you want to be able to use the tap ability for, or Porcu Parrot. You want to be able to get the combat in, play both offense and defense, and get the usage out of the creature. Being colorless means you can put it anywhere. And it's also adorable. It's got some of the best flavor text in the set. It makes you feel good just looking at the art and reading it. I follow the Save a Fox Rescue on Facebook, and I just like foxes. I think they're great. And so I'm really excited that there are more foxes in Magic now. There's like 5 in this set, which is kind of great.
Which is awesome.
And Foxfinder is awesome.
Yeah, this card just goes in all of your limited decks pretty much every single time. Every once in a while, when you get the Vigilance Tribal decks, which I have drafted, and it's great. You get the new Felidar Fronland or something, or Fronland Felidar.
The 3/5, yeah.
Yeah, that card's completely insane. And this card just goes right along with it. And being able to give those things Vigilance when you mutate onto it, super, super huge. And I also know that if I'd been playing Magic when I was like 13, this would be Fart Finder. That's what it would be. That's sure. All my friends would think that's the funniest thing ever.
Also, if you have an Ultimatum in your limited deck, you need like 3 of these. Like, yeah.
You need it. Ruben, what's number 7?
My number 7, hey, have you guys heard that Companion is totally busted? Turns
out,
tell us more. Companion is totally busted. So if Gigantha was the card I wanted to open in sealed the most, this one's the one I want to open in draft the most, because not only is it absurdly powerful, not only is it just a free splash, it also means I get to play every card that I draft, because I'm playing 60 cards in my limited deck. My number 6 is Yorion Sky Nomad. Yorion Sky Nomad is 3 colorless and 2 Azorius mana, white, blue, for 5 total. It's a 4/5 with flying, and it has Companion. Your starting deck contains at least 20 cards more than the minimum deck size, which is what is happening? When Yorion enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-land permanents you own and control. Return those permanents to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So not only is one of the best removal spells, or two of the best removal spells in the set, enchantment-based, common, I should say, which are Capture, Sphere, and Pacifism, which lets you reset all of those. You also get to reset your Frost Lynxes. There's a new common artifact that I think it's like Tripper's Snare or something like that when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card.
Oh, yeah.
Great. I'll just draw a card with this in play. Like, who cares? You get to reset your mutate creatures. If you go turn 3 mutate, turn 4 mutate, turn 5 Yorion, well, you got your effect. Now you've got 3 bodies, right? So Yorion, and by the way, it's a 5 toughness flyer that's not going to get divine arrowed and stands in front of 4/4s. So card's absurd, card's great. Obviously going to see playing constructed as well. I've already seen blue-white control decks that want to have Yorion to
Modern
just be
has
able
been
to
all
sit
over
there.
it too.
Yep.
You can blink your astrolabes. Yeah.
Oh my god!
boy.
Nothing
Your
about these
astrolabe.
ridiculous. These cards are ridiculous, and they're unfair, and they're dumb. I don't know why they did this. It's bad. That's
It's also
all
a
I'm saying.
bird serpent, because why not?
It's also a bird serpent, because that doesn't look weird. Being able to rely on a 5 mana 4/5 flyer, if it did nothing else, if you just had a thing to meet and a thing and it said you're going to have this card in your opening hand every game ever, it still would have been played and it still would have been too good. And here we are with good effects on top of good creatures, and okay, well, whatever. Let's move on to my number 7. I love this thing for a few reasons. I love it because it's really, really cool in the Godzilla version. There's Godzilla versions of stuff. This has one. Super, super dope. I also love the sort of the oxymoronic in many ways of having something that has haste that's also a turtle. Because I want to cycle things 4 times. The magical 4 of... Because Godzilla is coming. The Godzilla Doom Inevitable, also known as Udara Wandering Monster, is awesome. 2 red, 5 generic mana, 7 mana for an 8/8 trample haste. Legendary Dinosaur Turtle. That's
Dinosaur Turtle.
Dinosaur Turtle. Cycling of a red and a generic mana, but when you cycle Udara Wandering Monster, you shuffle it into your library or from your graveyard. And if you've cycled a card named Udara Wandering Monster 4 or more times this game, put it onto the battlefield from your graveyard instead. You do this before you draw, so you still get the draw, which I think is kind of funny in its own right. And just for having a 7 mana 8/8 trample haste is no joke. Like, that's
no joke.
Still good.
You'll take it.
Mostly I'm never activating this ability. This is not Approach of the Second Sun stat. This is not where we're at with that. You're either cycling for 2 mana, or you're just having 8/8 haste trample.
Yeah.
Which is great. 8/8 haste trample for 7 mana is really good.
Those are great stats, man. Those are things you're still happy to go, okay, 7 mana.
Yeah.
Woo! Way better on rate than you can get anywhere else. The cycling ability is cool. There's been much talk about Wizards and a lot of pushback on Wizards, saying, look, we don't design for digital. We don't. I'm like, no, man, you're not designing it for Magic Arena. But what you're saying is there used to be sort of a test, right? Is this okay memory-wise? Is this okay keeping up with little tokens and bits and things? And that just is not a factor anymore. So if you have something, you have to remember, how many times did I cycle that? 3 times? 4 times?
Right.
Well, Arena and Moto or whatever can keep up with that, no problem. So you have sort of an easier way to get around what used to be bigger, more important problems to design. So
we also care less about shuffling now, apparently, because there was a couple year period there where people were like, we're not going to search, right? Because it's wasting too much time in tournaments. But online, it doesn't matter. So we're back to putting shuffle and search on everything.
Everything's search and finding stuff, which is fun in its own way. Aaron, what's number 6?
I literally screamed when this card was previewed and my mentions blew up. My mentions were trash the day, in the best way possible. And this is one of those cards that I looked at and I was like, I'm going to break you. My number 6 is Eerie Ultimatum. So Eerie Ultimatum is 2 white, 3 black, and 2 green. It is a sorcery, and it says return any number of permanent cards. Notice it doesn't say non-land, so lands count, with different names from your graveyard to the battlefield. Oh my god! I want to do terrible things with this. Like, it'll probably never see play in Standard, which is fine. I own that, but damn it. Give me an Abzan. We have plenty. I think the new Abzan deck, the commander deck, is graveyardy, so I think it could see play there. Look at the colors: white, black, green. You can fill your graveyard a lot with this. You can use that new Skull Prophet to help you do it. Damn it, the art is beautiful. I literally just screamed. Like, I was at my computer and I was like, ah! I couldn't take it. It was just everything I want. And I love it so much.
I think this card is absolutely doable in Standard. I think we've got a long way. I think we've got a long way to go with decks from Ikoria. Like, no week 1, first tournaments, everybody's playing Fire's Convention, whatever.
Right.
There's so much power in this set, so many themes, so many ways to get around.
This is the Skull Prophet deck.
Yes.
This is the Skull Prophet deck. You have also got, in Limited, it works nicely because all the crystals have different names and they have cycling as well, but they can also ramp you into your various ultimatums, which is kind of cool. This card is super neat. This card feels like all 3 colors.
Yes, this card and a giant effect, and it's really powerful and impressive, and I've gotten completely destroyed by this in Limited, and that's kind of...
This feels like the Limited, like, you just want to trade. Oh, by the way, 9 for 1. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it works. Ruben, what's number 6?
So, like I said, 10 through 6 were my Limited cards.
Okay.
And number 6, I think, is my it's going to be by far my most drafted card in Limited when I get my stats in. Like, by a lot. If Companion's busted, cycling for a colorless might be more busted. Like, it's really good. It's really close.
It's really good.
And there are 7 commons and I think 3 uncommons with cycling 1 in the new set. And they're all very good. And I will play every copy of every single one. But for my money, the effect that you get on the spell half of Memory Leak is absurd. Like, both modes of Memory Leak are crazy powerful. And Memory Leak, I think, is my favorite Limited card in the set.
Wow.
Which is weird. Memory Leak is 2 colorless and a black for a sorcery. It's a common from Ikoria with cycling 1 of just generic mana. Pay a generic mana and discard it to draw a card, so you can always just, cycle it away. And it also has target opponent reveals their hand. You may choose a non-land card from that player's graveyard or hand and exile it. So it's not coercion. No. This is not just discard it and get it back later with your Eerie Ultimatum, or rebuy it with your Boneyard Lurker, or get it back with your Backfomor. No. That thing is gone for good. Get it out of here. And this format in particular is really good for taking cards out of hands. There's a lot of interaction happening in the mid to late game with mutate, people saving removal spells and pump spells, trying to keep combat tricks, trying to save stuff for the right time to deploy. And this thing just cuts the legs out from anything. I have a hard time losing games where I cast this on turn 3, even in decks where I have a bunch of 3-drops. Like, I'll play this over my, Reptilian Reflections a lot of the time, or my Snare Tacticians, my 3-drops in my cycling decks, just because I want to slow the game down. And this card slows the game down to a grinding halt. It prevents them from doing the big thing that they're going to end up doing later. Or if you're in an aggro mirror, just cycle it away for just a colorless.
It's super duper good. Like, Coercion was this spell, and you just got the card from their hand and you put it in their graveyard. Nowadays, it gets from hand or graveyard and exiles it and cycles on top of it. Whew, we are in a whole different world of powerful, powerful Magic cards.
And this is the black one, is the other thing. Mostly the cycling cards are in the blue, white, and red. That's really the cycling deck. Mostly red, white, with some blue sometimes, right? You've got like Boon of the Wishgiver, and you've got like Escape Protocol, I think is the blue uncommon, which is like pretty mediocre. But then you've got the Dranith humans, the 2/2s that gain a life or ping when you cycle. You've got the Flourishing Fox and some other cycling stuff. But in black and green, it's not so prevalent. You've got some things, but this one in particular is huge.
Yeah, this card, like, because the power level of the set is so crazy high, this usually pays off in a giant way where you're like, oh my God, you had that in hand? Yeah. You know, that's kind of where we're at.
Yep.
All right, so we're moving here to number 6. This is definitely constructed territory. There's a point, at least nowadays, I feel, where Wizards kind of gets in their head. They're like, okay, we're going to make this thing, and we're going to make it good, and we're going to make it freaking sweet. And someone's like, how would you make that freaking sweet? And someone's like, what if it's just like draw you cards? Let's have it draw you cards when you do this magical thing. And I'm like, what magical thing are you doing over there? And they're like, we flashing. That's all we do. We flashing. Because Slither Wisp is like, can I just reward you all the time for having flash cards? Capture Sphere, by the way, is a flash card. Oh my God, I got blown out so hard. Slither Wisp is 2 black and a blue. So that's just 3 mana right there. 2 black and a blue for a rare 3/2 elemental nightmare. It is a rare. And it has flash. And whenever you cast another spell that has flash, you draw a card and each opponent loses 1 life. Rarely have they ever been so overt, like, this is what you play. You play a play set. This is the flash deck. We gave you this other flash thing to make sure they don't get countered, so you can't complain about that. This is your flash deck. Go play your flash deck.
Right. I mean, we don't really talk about the human, but Slither Wisp is gonna, so Dimir Flash is a deck in Standard right now.
Oh yeah.
With 4 Slither Wisps, and then you just play Brazen Borrowers and Brianhorn Cutthroats and Spectral Sailors like you were already.
Yep.
Right?
Except now they're drawing cards and losing life.
And now they're drawing cards and losing life. And oh, by the way, you've got the new Octopus that is also got Flash and Mutate, which is also adorable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this card is sick. That 2 toughness is a liability, of course. Yeah. But again, every other thing you're playing is drawing you cards and making your opponent lose life.
Right. And it's also got Flash. So who cares?
Yeah, and once you got 2 of them out there, oh yeah, they stack. Like, it gets really nuts really fast. This card is just overtly, like, top of the curve.
Another card that you show somebody from 1995, and they're just like, what are you talking about?
Well, first of all, what's Flash?
So, every card in Ikoria is going to do that.
Right.
But at least people can sort of understand what the words mean on this card.
Right.
And be like, that's very absurd.
That's extremely obviously great. And that's where we're at. Let's move on here to number 5. Aaron, what's number 5?
My boyfriend and I have very different play styles. We like to joke that we're the Izzet versus Golgari dual decks because he loves his red-blue, he loves drawing cards, and I'm obviously the Golgari girl, and I love aristocrats and dead things. And one of my favorite things about preview season is when we find cards that remind each other of us. And so I'll find, some Izzet monstrosity, and I'll be like, baby, the Sprite Dragon was one. And I was like, this is right up your alley. And he was like, ooh. And then he sent me a message regarding my number 5, and he's like, you need to put this in your She-Ray deck. And I was like, and so I love that we think of each other and that we're reminded of each other. And it's absolutely going in my She-Ray deck. And it doesn't look like much, but it could be a game ender. My number 5 is Serrated Scorpion. So Serrated Scorpion is 1 black. It is a creature type scorpion with 1 power and 2 toughness. When it dies, it deals 2 damage to each opponent, which is in 2-headed giant or commander, very attractive, and you gain 2 life. So you sacrifice it to She-Ray, or you have a stack outlet with She-Ray out, and then whoop! And then because it has 1 power or less, it comes back at your end step, and you just do this every turn. And so we can close out the game very, very quickly. I'm really excited to try this out. And it just, when I saw this, it just doesn't look like much, but in the decks that want it, in that one little niche deck, you can break the hell out of this.
Like, I was not expecting this to be a constructed all-star, but it is already a constructed all-star in the Rakdos sacrifice decks. This is what you want to go get with your Fiend Artisan after you sacrifice this to go get it again. So you can keep the cycle going and your priest going and get all that incremental value. Lurrus, of course, letting you play it again out of the graveyard. It was just dumb and crazy. And I like,
this has 2 toughness.
After
why?
Playing with it, why?
This is all about the butts lately, which we'll get into.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, this is
we'll
this card's absurd. I have been very impressed with it. It's great to, on like turn 5, when you have something that you need to mutate and use its ability, you're just like, play this, mutate onto it, right? Use the ability, and then when it dies, you know, oh well, but at least we got a little bit more value out of it.
Yeah.
I've been very impressed with this card.
I again, that to me was the feeling. I was like, what? They're playing for that card? And then I played with the deck, and I'm like, oh my god, this card is fantastic.
That incremental value, that little, like, every little tiny thing gets you where you want to be.
It just bites them. Like, you know, like I was talking about that flash deck. I played the Rakdos sacrifice deck versus the flash deck, and I got there and I beat them on like 1 life because the serrated scorpion would not stop, man. It was just great. This card was way better than I was ever expecting.
Death by 1,000 cuts is how that
or
deck
stings.
wants to win. Or stings. Yeah, there you go.
Little stingies. Ruben, what's number 5?
So, my number 5, we're getting into constructed now. And this might be the most busted brawl card I've ever seen in my entire life. It is crazy. It, like, you just play this deck, like, it sort of just builds itself, and it's wildly overpowered. My number 5 is Kenan Bonder Prodigy. Kenan Bonder Prodigy is 2 mana, green-blue, for a 2/2. It's a legendary creature human druid. When you tap a non-land permanent for mana, add 1 mana of any type that permanent produced. And 5 colorless blue-green. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a non-human creature card from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest of them on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, we've got everything, right? This is our Sir Conrad kind of deal, where it's not just the engine, it's also the fuel.
Yeah, it's the whole package.
It's also 2 mana, and immediately, like, this deck builds itself, right?
And Simic was already the best color combination in Standard, and some would even say other formats. Like, you need no excuse to play this card.
Right,
like,
and, like, one of the most frustrating things to play against in Brawl was already the Kiora deck. So now you've just got access to as many 2-drop, and also Gilded Goose, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Mana rampers that you want. And if you have an empty hand, who cares? Turns out you can just like find Endray's Forerunners every turn.
Yeah.
Wizards of the Coast printed Oko, Thief of Crowns, in this color combination, and then followed up a couple sets later with this crazy freak. Goodness gracious. This is just one of those, like, it's anytime I see 2 mana and mythic, I strap in. Just strap it in. Here we go. Here we go. It's going to be the craziest 2-drop you've ever seen in your life. It does this and that. It's the whole package of bobbing and bobbing. I was like, oh my God. It's so good.
That's basically the way to do it.
God almighty. This card is sweet. Also, weirdly specific. And you note this, and they've said this multiple times. They're like, make sure that kid in that artwork is fat. He is fat. He is fat. You get that fat kid on it. They were like overweight, obese. Like they're making it a point. I'm like, okay, guys, for real. He's fat already. Leave the kid alone. Jesus Christ. It's like, they were weirdly specific.
Where did that come
from the art description. From the art description. It came from the art description. I kid you not. I'm just saying. Okay.
I'm just saying, if I had to be bonded to somebody, I would want to bond. They look very cuddle worthy. Like, that's how they probably bond.
Wow, you're right. There are 3 2-mana creature mythics in the set, and they're all insane.
Yeah, they're all busted. And well, speaking of mythics, as we move on here to my number 5, this is a card that is like, it's clearly bananas. We're not exactly sure which banana split it's going to end up in for being as banana-y as it has to be. which Nutter Butter it's going to be in the Stone Cold Nutter Butters it happens to be. But look, there's some lines of text, you read them and you go like, what did you just do? What did we just say? Did you just say that whenever a creature you control without flying dies,
yeah,
turn it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a flying counter on it? I'm like, what did you just say to me? How does that work? What is magnets and how did they work? 2 white, 2 generic mana for a luminous broodmoth, also known as Mothra, which is BA.
The Mothra is awesome.
The Mothra's sick. A 3/4 mythic insect that has flying, and whenever a creature you control without flying dies, return to the battlefield under its owner's control with a flying counter on it. Oh my god, what are we doing? This card is ridiculous.
4 toughness. Again, like, what are we, like...
And sacrifice was already a thing, and Mardu sacrifice is not hard to accommodate if you're just playing Rakdos. You could probably make white happen, and Lord knows you can also just play magic too. Like, this is one of the things we like to say throughout the show is that a card that's truly powerful, you don't even have to try for. Like, you can play the oven and you can do the usual thing with this, or you can just play fair magic. You can just get white pips. You can block. You can attack, and it just does its thing, which is definitely the hallmark of a good card.
Right. You just drop this and attack and trade, quote unquote, and just get back your 2/2s that died, but now they have flying and they're untapped.
Like,
and it has a good body on it too. Like, normally things like this are very fragile. Going back to Shirei we're throwing 2 toughness, very easy to get rid of Shirei. Good 4 toughness butt on it, like that's a thing.
Serious stats for the 4 mana 3/4. Okay, we're talking, that's good. And then the ability on top of it is just, somebody played Uro and I died. I just fell over and just the hole was already there, so I could just fall in and the dirt just fell back on top of it. Oh my god, it was ridiculous.
Uro with this is adorable.
Draw 2, gain 6, play 2 land. Like, I was just like grabbing my hat out the door. See you guys later. We're all done here.
Like Grandpa Simpson.
Just we're all finished. Like, a card.
So what happens is, if you do the Uro thing, because it didn't escape, so you sacrifice
it still dies.
So you get it twice. So you get it twice.
Oh my god.
You get double triggers. Yeah, which is nuts. And then when you finally escape it, if this thing is here, it'll still come back to give you another one.
And get another trigger, which it'll die again. So like, Uro will never have flying on the battlefield, but who cares?
Who cares?
We're not playing Uro. We're not playing Uro because it's a 6/6.
Card is amazing. Let's move on here to number 4. Ruben, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is the first of 2 hires on my list.
Ooh, Aaron, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is one of those cards. I knew exactly where it was going the minute that I saw it. And it's funny because I never thought of myself as being like the commander girl, that would look at a preview season or a preview card and go, oh, this is going in X deck, but I'm totally that girl. My number 4 is Mithras of Snapdax. So Mythos of Snapdax is 2 colorless and 2 white. It is a sorcery. Each player chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker from among the non-land permanents they control, and then sacrifices the rest. But if you paid black and red to cast this spell, you choose the permanents for each player instead. This is absolutely going in my Queen Marchesa deck, because what is more queen-like than going you, and you, get rid of the rest? Nothing! Like, that's just perfect. And so, this sort of 4-mana tragic arrogant, and damn it, that art?
Yeah. All of the arts on all of the mythoses are amazing.
Can you take your feet off my neck for 1 second, Seb? Like, just when I thought, like, I could breathe
Aaron,
again.
this is Maine. Aaron.
This is Maine. This is not pre-show.
But just when I thought I could breathe again, Seb was like, oh no, I got you. Like, this is primitive. It's so different than what we've seen from him, but still with sort of those Seb flourishes. He loves to do sort of these stick figures. This reminds me a little bit of Bedevil, but this sort of cave painting, which he did all 3 of the mythoses, and they're gorgeous. This is part of the reason why he has another successful Kickstarter, is largely in part because of these cards. Gorgeous, beautiful, less than $1, which is great. I'm absolutely going to play this, and I think it's just amazing.
I love the Mythos cycle.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Tragic Arrogance came out in Magic Origins. It's 2 white, 3 generic mana sorcery, and it's what this does when all the mana's there. For each player, you choose among the permanents that player controls, and then each player sacrifices all other non-land permanents they control. So this gives you essentially that spell at a discount as long as you're willing to pay the full price.
Now, most of the mythoses I will say that the other 4 mythoses are not that different if you don't get full value. Especially in limited, which is where I have most of my experience, particularly with these, as I haven't seen them in constructed that much.
Right.
Boy, is Mythos of Snapdax so much better when you get full value out of it. Like, especially because it's mostly white and you have pacifism in your deck, right? So you choose their creature that has a pacifism on it, and you choose your pacifism, and then you've ruinous ultimatumed them for 4 mana, basically, is what's happened.
Right. Everything goes away. And like the mythoses themselves have been super awesome. Mythos of Aluna, that's the blue, green, and red one, has been amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my
Being
God.
able to fight, that was surprisingly good.
Yeah, because I remember people being kind of underwhelmed by that, of like, oh, this poor little teamer one, oh well.
Yeah, well, the red one is still deal 5 divided as you choose. The time walk effect is good, but like not necessary. You'll still play this in your red deck.
Right.
The black one destroys a creature, so you're just going to play it in your black deck, even if you don't play the white and the green to be able to destroy their non-land permanent. The blue-green, the Brokos one gets 2 instead of 1, which is pretty good, but like you're still playing a Diabolic Tutor.
No, it gets 2. It always gets 2.
It always gets 2, sorry.
But you can go search for one to put in your graveyard before you do
it. Which now it's a
price.
Diabolic Tutor instead of just a regrowth, sorry.
Right.
And then Mythos of Aluna, you're right, the fight is huge because you get the effect of the creature immediately, regardless of what you copy. But boy, is Mythos of Snapdax so much better when you get the Mardu side of things. Yeah, Savai, sorry, the Savai side of things.
The Savai side, sure, whatever. Either way, that card is quite dope. Let's move on here to my number 4. My number 4 is, God, I guess if I can spell it right. Because look,
there's a lot of that in this set. There's a lot of that.
A lot of weird spellings in this one. But look, in Dotha, Ketria, Rogrin, Savai, and Zagoth are all weird names. Okay, sure. But what they also gave us was Triomes. Triomes is my number 4. I love the Triome cycle. It is a 3 basic land type land, which as I understand it, is the first time they've ever done this.
Correct.
Which is incredible. And so for example, we'll do, let's do Rogrin, because it's the Jeskai as you know it. Rogrin Triome is a rare Island Mountain Plains, which means you tap to add blue, red, or white. It enters the battlefield tapped, and it has cycling of 3 generic mana. 3 generic mana, discard this card, draw a card. All of them have the cycling. All of them have the basic land types. All of them can be now searched via fetch land to go get these types if you want to. These cards individually have been enabling really cool wedge decks in standard. I'm already playing them in my standard list. They're all super powerful. They're super great in limited, which I love. Like limited is so free and cool and awesome. I'll just open one of these. I'm like, okay, I'm playing a black, green, red deck or whatever. Like that's just what we're going to do this time. And you can just make it happen. But the Triomes themselves, I love them. I think they're great. They're exciting. They're sweet. And I look forward to the Shard set when we get the other sort of side of all of these Triomes.
Of the Triomes, I do like the Rogrin art the best. It looks like How to Train Your Dragon. I mean, everything kind of looks like How to Train Your Dragon in this set. Or Avatar World. And they're super beautiful and super unique. Like the world of Ikoria looks so much different. Like you look at Ketria Triome and you look at that art and you're just like, there's nowhere else in the multiverse that looks like that. And it's just gorgeous.
Yeah, super sweet. Love that cycle. Let's move on here to a number 3. Aaron, what's number 3?
We've seen several examples through the years of people putting enchantments on creatures or artifact abilities on creatures, and we don't often see the opposite, a creature's ability put on an enchantment, or something that we think of when we think of creatures on that. And there's at least 2 examples of that in Ikoria, both of which I'm really, really excited about. Obviously, I'm more excited about the black one. My number 3 is Bastion of Remembrance. So Bastion of Remembrance is 2 colorless and a black as it is an enchantment. When Bastion of Remembrance enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 human soldier creature token, and then whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So the sort of Blood Artist Zulaport Cutthroat effect. There's a couple of them out there, but this is an enchantment, so you can't kill it. It's a lot harder to kill an enchantment than a creature. It's also cheaper than Falconwrath Noble, which tends to be another popular Blood Artist but costs 4. And so you definitely have some pros and cons here. You can't necessarily attack with it, bit, but it's probably going to be around a lot longer. And it's also a little cheaper than other options. There was also a Vindictive Vampire, which costs 4. So, this kind of slots in really nicely in that 3-drop slot. If you go Blood Artist, Zulaport Cutthroat, and this, and you maybe don't even need the other 2 that cost 4.
Right.
And that's a really, really big deal. It also gives you a 1/1 to kind of feed the engine, which is cool.
Right.
And so if you have any way to kind of blink this, you can do some dumb things with that. But I was really excited about this. I immediately put it in my Shirei deck. I've also been tinkering with a Grim Grin deck lately, and I just cut the 2 4-costers and was like, get in here. Let's lower that curve. And I've been having a really good time.
Yeah, being able to have this effect stick around after a Wrath is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Really exciting.
Yeah, and the white version, for those who don't know, is Sanctuary Lockdown, which is 2 colorless and a white. It's an enchantment. Humans get +1/+1. So it's got sort of a Lord Anthem effect, which again, you would normally see on a body, but it's on an enchantment, so you can't get rid of it as easily.
Yeah, which is super dope. This is a card that I pulled out when we were previewing cards and talking about our favorite previews. I'm like, the power level in this uncommon is just remarkable. It's the fact we have to say, look, seriously, guys, this is one of the best uncommons they've made, like in terms of power level. It's done. They got Woe Strider in standard. What are we doing? Let's make this happen. Like,
really good.
But it turns out the Scorpion was kind of somehow better, which was weird.
Because it's 1 mana.
It's 1 mana.
Yeah, I mean,
you got to be 3 times better than a 1 mana card.
Goodness gracious. Ruben, what's number 3?
My number 3, speaking of ridiculous, hey, I don't know if you heard this, but turns out Companion is busted. And my number 3 is a companion, and probably the most busted companion, because it's Lurrus of the Dream Den.
Oh my lord.
We needed to talk about Lurrus of the Dream Den because it's absurd. Colorless white black or Orzhov mana, 3 mana total, gets you a 3/2 lifelinker with Companion. Each permanent card in your starting deck has converted mana cost 2 or less. Permanent card. So you can still play spells, sorceries, and instants that cost 3 or more if you want to. And during each of your turns, you may cast 1 permanent spell with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard. The best deck in Standard right now, the number 1 ranked, I should say, Arena Standard deck is that Rakdos Sacrifice deck that had Lurrus as its companion. The deck that won the Lotus Box 1K was a Orzhov deck that had Lurrus as its companion. It won a vintage event, I think, or at least 5-0'd.
There were 4 copies in the top 8. I mean, among the sightings this weekend, the weekend results aren't even fully out yet, but Lurrus was spotted in Pioneer Green-Black Scales, Boros, SRAM, and Heroic decks. Sure. In Modern, it was seeing play in Delver, Burn, Devoted Druid, Jund decks, Shadow, Death Shadow, and Bogles was running this. Yep. And then in Legacy, it was seeing play in Delver. Storm decks were running this, and Storm don't normally run creatures. Right. Steel Stompy decks were running this. The Workshop decks were running this in Vintage. I mean, just the dominance of this card in such a short amount of time just made a huge splash this weekend.
You can just go off with Lion's Eye Diamond, just kind of by itself.
Lion's Eye Diamond, yeah.
It's absurd. Card's absurd.
Why did they do this?
This card reimagines Delver, I think. I think Delver decks are not going to, you're going to have bug Delver decks.
It reimagines
with Lurrus,
everything.
And everything is going to be different.
Lord God.
Even new Grixis. I mean,
this card is so freaking powerful. I'm telling you. It feels
crazy.
It just feels like cheating. You will play this thing in Arena and here come 5 cards out of your graveyard just scooting right over in front of you that you can now play. And I'm just like, what?
It's well, I guess I'll get this Cruel Celebrant back, or I'll get, Croxa or whatever. Who cares?
It doesn't matter. It hurts me. It hurts me that this was so obviously crazy good. What? Who's responsible?
So we've already seen the banning of Lutri in Commander and Brawl. We've already seen the banning of Gyruda in Magic Online formats for reasons unrelated to gameplay, more related to the functionality. Right. But I'm still going to count that one as a banning in the banning column. Right. How long until 8 of the 10, let's set the line at 8.
That's bold.
God almighty.
Are banned in a format?
Well, in a format.
A format. 2 are banned, and it hasn't been a week yet.
God.
I'll pie bet on 8.
I'm not going near that.
8's a lot. But, easily the 4 or 5, like that bar is clearable. All I know is Lurrus is dumb. There's nothing fair about it. I don't
Card's
get
absurd. Card
why...
is not long for this world. It's better than Oko.
If you're listening to this while that card is playable in a format, you should play it in whatever format you like.
Yep.
Because you're not going to get to for very long because it's bananas.
And oh, by the way, red decks are unplayable in any format where Lurrus is legal because you just have a 3/2 lifelinker for 3 mana.
At every single game.
Just, yeah.
Right there waiting on you for 3 mana.
So stupid.
Anyway, my number 3 here is a heck of a Magic card. I really like this card. I love this card design. This is one of those cards that, like, the instant I read it, I was like, oh my god, this is a format all-star. I love it. I want more of it. It is awesome. There is a comic book version, which looks sweet as hell. That's right. Hey, y'all. I like it. I love it. And I want some more of it. That's right. Some Sea Dasher Octopus, y'all.
Yeah.
What?
That's
There's
right.
the Flash.
Sea Dasher Octopus is Ninja of the Deep Octo, and it is great. It is
Ninja of the Deep Octo is a nice
your
one.
hearts.
That's a deep cut, and I love it.
Nice. 2 blue and a generic mana for a 2/2 rare octopus with mutate of a blue and a generic mana. If you cast this spell for its mutate cost, put it over or under target non-human creature you control. They mutate into the creature on top plus all abilities from under it. It has Flash. This is the only mutate with Flash. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. And it is a awesome, like, it's just sick. It does everything.
You're right, it is like Ninja. That is interesting.
Yeah. It's got the same cost as you would from Ninjutsu, which is really cool. It just sneaks right in there and gets you those cards. You can mutate onto it. You can, of course, continue to mutate onto it. It has Flash, so you can just blast it out for 3 mana at the end of their turn.
It's a ninjutsu-puss.
Ninjutsu-puss! The Ninjutsu-puss!
Trademarking that.
Oh,
It's the Ninjutsu-puss!
Ninjutsu-puss.
I love that.
That's adorable.
It's really good. I
It's
mean,
super good.
the ones... So, I quantify the mutate creatures in 2 different categories. There are the ones that are less when you mutate them, and the ones that are more when you mutate them.
Sure.
The ones that are less, particularly this and Parcel Beast, which go down to 2 mana, are absurd, because you just play a turn 1 turtle or a turn, like a scorpion, as we discussed earlier,
Right.
Or the mysterious cocoon, and
Mysterious
just
egg,
go to
yeah.
town immediately.
Yeah. The way you can kind of get in there super quick with this guy, the mysterious egg adds a +1/+1 counter onto it, which is
Or
dumb.
Mothra's Great Cocoon is
Mothra's-
the alternate version.
Right, but you can't search Arena for the Godzilla names. They will not show up.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I hate that, by the way. I low-key hate that.
Because if you search Godzilla, like 18 cards would show up. That'd be awesome.
Yes, but you can't, and that pisses me off because I have those card styles that I unlock from playing all the limited events, so I see them as, I see baby Godzilla. I don't see squiggly worm, what's his nuts,
I
like
see
whatever.
I see Dorat the perfect pet. I don't see Sprite Dragon.
Right, exactly. And after a while, as Magic cards are sort of want to know by their visual and their art style, like that's what I think of. Is I think, I think baby.
Like,
Godzilla.
another one of my opponents has Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah.
Which is a sentence I think in my head, apparently, now in Magic.
I love it. But yeah, but the Sea Dasher Octopus is fan-freaking-tastic. Let's move on here to number 2. Aaron, what's number 2?
This is another card that my boyfriend is super excited about. So I've been playing Vintage again. I've been feeling inspired, and I knew that I was going to face some companions. I'd faced a couple Lurrus decks. Turns out Leyline of the Void works out really well against them. Someone tried the Fox. I'd heard about Garuda. That's what I was expecting to face. I did not expect to see my number 2 in the hands of one Stephen Menendian. And I did not expect her to single-handedly take over the game. You could even say that it was unreal. My number 2 is Riel the Everwise. So Riel the Everwise is 1 colorless, 1 blue and a red. She's a legendary creature human wizard with 0/3. What's with wizard and these big butts? Why does Grandma need a butt that big? Why does she need 3 toughness?
All right.
Anyways, Riel gets +1/+0 for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard, which is not hard to do if you're playing Izzet colors. And also, whenever you discard 1 or more cards for the first time each turn, draw that many cards. Wow. So you have Flip Jace, Or even Baby Jace, so you're doing that thing. Breakthrough.
Oh boy. Breakthrough
but what
nice.
Stephen Mendian did, I have to talk about this. So he was playing Jeskai, just very fair Jeskai, not really doing much. And so we're kind of like, in turn 4, turn 5, turn 6 territory. He has Riel out. She's like a 4/3 at this point. He has a flipped Baby Jace out. So he starts off by casting Balance. Balance makes you discard. So he draws from Riel. She gets bigger. He then casts Time Walk. Crashes in with Riel for like 5 or 6. Untaps. Crashes in with Riel again. Flashes back the Time Walk. And just to sort of protect the queen style strategy. And meanwhile, he's just playing fair magic, discarding cards, doing his thing. And I lost to a Riel.
Yeah, sure.
And I was just like, what is going on? Like, I couldn't even be mad about it because she just grew so big so quickly. Again, like we said throughout the show, he's just playing fair magic. I mean, Time Walk, it could be argued, but, he's not really doing anything inherently broken. He's
fair
just playing
vintage.
Right,
Yeah.
fair vintage. And she gets big, 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 big. He's also got sort of his cheap removal spells clearing the way for her. I ran out of zombies. And I lost to Riel, and it was awesome. And so she didn't get talked about a lot this weekend, but I expect to see her doing some things in constructed formats very soon.
Very good with Cathartic Reunion and, of course, just cycling cards in Limited. But in addition to that, you can also play things like Dak Faden or Careful Study and Faithless Looting in concert with Riel. There's a bunch of cool stuff you can do with Riel. And not to mention, if you use, it counts both players' turns. So you can cycle on your turn, draw the extra card, cycle on their turn, draw the extra card. Gets very big very quickly. Very good. Like, probably the best rare for the blue-red spell deck.
Oh, yeah.
It's the reason why it's in the set. I mean, and it's fantastic.
Like, as far as I understand it, it has sort of rebirthed the Phoenix deck as a Phoenix is wont to do.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. In Standard, because, like, you have now the tools that reward you for discarding all these cards. Like, I mean, certainly if you have a large book of definitions and you flum through it and you're looking up Hug from Jesus, and I'm pretty sure Riel plus Cathartic Reunion, when you discard 2, draw 5, is just...
Discard the 2 basic lands you didn't want anyway. Draw 5. Yeah.
It is filthy. It is absolutely filthy. This girl is super duper powerful and it's great. And I'm glad she's already like $20. People aren't sleeping on this card. This card is dope and I love it. So through process of elimination, Ruben, you said you had 2 hires. So your number 2 is higher on someone else's list.
My number 2 is higher on someone else's list.
All right. Detective work still underway. All right. My number 2 is a fantastic card. It is like, I've played with this card and you read Magic cards and you're just like, okay, that looks amazing. And then, Aurelius Fury shows up. But, every once in a while you read a card and you're like, all right, I'm not going to flip out over this card. I'm going to say it looks cool because there's no way that wizards would put X on top of Y. They would put their peanut butter on their jelly, on their chocolate, on their pudding.
Yeah,
you wouldn't do that. And they're like, yeah, they would. They would.
The world we live in now. Yeah, they would.
We're just in chocolate, vanilla pudding, banana split plan. Because the Fiend Artisan, this card is Tarmogoyf Birthing Pod Plus. Kind of, sort of, great in multiples, is great for devotion, is good in every archetype you can throw it in. Yeah. It's bananas. This card is
absurd.
I mean, holy God, it's already like $30 for a reason. Fiend Artisan is 2 Golgari mana, so green or black, twice. For a 1/1 Mythic Nightmare, it gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. For X generic mana and a Golgari mana, so green or black and X, you tap and sacrifice another creature : search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library, activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. I can't really continue to fathom why all of those cards, or all those words rather, are on this one card.
Right.
It does everything.
And it's cute.
absurd.
It's cute. I don't care what anyone says.
Cute.
It's cute.
This card is a 4/4, like all the time.
All the time.
In every deck that you play it in. Obviously, super friends with Cat Oven, because the cat sits in your graveyard. You get into the red zone with your 3/3 on turn 2 or whatever, and then get your cat back. Right. And then you can start using your cat to go search out your Priest of the Forgotten Gods or whatever. card is absolutely bananas. And the fact that this gives you some insurance against Shatter the Sky, because it's always a 4/4, so that you get to draw the extra card, is super nice. You get to get your, your key 2-drop out of your deck with your crappy 1-drop, whatever it ends up being. You get to go get your Dreadhorde Butcher or your Croxa once you're done using your Scorpion, right? Once Scorpion gets outclassed on turn 3 or whatever.
Right.
Card is just bananas. It attacks, it blocks, and it feeds itself, and it's an engine, and it's a tutor. I mean, it's absurd.
It doesn't.
It goes in green decks. It goes in black decks.
It doesn't even need to sacrifice a non-token creature, which is what you would expect on this type of card from over the years. Oh no! Just sacrifice any random Garbo creature hanging around. Get whatever you want equal to the amount of mana that you have. Mother of God, this is 2020 Magic the Gathering right here.
Yeah, go search out your Cruel Celebrant before combat. Go search out your Dreadhorde Arc.
Not before combat, because you can only do it anytime you play a sorcery. But, well, I guess...
Yeah, before combat.
Before combat. Yeah, sure, okay.
Pre-combat main phase.
Oh my God, this card
then crash in with my Hunted Witnesses.
This is like, you remember Tarmogoyf? Tarmogoyf was always a 4/5. It was like default 3/4.
This is always a 4/4.
But it was usually a 4/5. This is always a 4/4 in my experience. It's dumb. It's
and
great.
Then late, it's a 9/9.
Oh, late. It's scary as hell and is ready to eat you.
Right.
Also, the animation in Arena is really cute when it pops off the head of the doll. It's really cute. I like that.
Yeah.
That said, we get to turn the corner here to number 1.
Oh, by the way, that was my number 4. I don't know if I said that.
You did not, but I am noting it now.
That was my number 4. Card is absurd.
Card is great. Absolutely ridiculous. Aaron, what's number 1?
This card got my attention immediately when it was previewed. I knew that I was going to love it, but I just didn't think it was going to be good. Not in the sense that, like, it was going to take over multiple formats, because I understand that my needs and my likes are very niche. And so it's very rare that a card I like is good in multiple formats. And so it's happening. And it's so good that it had to be emergency banned on Modern and on Magic Online because the system just wasn't using it properly. Not only is it a good card, but it also gives a big middle finger to Leyline of the Void, which I can completely get on board with because that card is trash. My number 1's Garuda, Doom of Depths. So Garuda is 4 colorless and 2 hybrid mana, Dimir mana, blue-black, for a legendary creature Demon Kraken, which is dope by itself. It's 6/6. It's a companion that says your starting deck contains only cards with even converted mana costs. When Garuda enters the battlefield, each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard, put a creature card with an even converted mana cost from among those cards onto the battlefield under your control. So Leyline doesn't stop this, which is awesome, because Leyline could have been a really big mood killer for this. You know what else is an even card? Is Thassa's Oracle. And so you play things like Spark Double. You run all these sort of clone effects to kind of keep this going. And then eventually you deck yourself, and then whoop, there's your Thassa's Oracle.
Do Spark Double, Sakashima's Student, and
It's seen
Clone.
play in Legacy. It's seen play in Standard. If you would have told me a 6-mana creature would be doing things like this, I would have never believed you. I just assumed it would be something janky that I could hold close to my chest and love forever. But everybody's picking up on this card. It's doing really dumb things, and I could not be a prouder graveyard mom.
So in Standard, the typical 2/4/6 play pattern has been seen since Primeval Titan, and even before, really, where you play a Paradise Druid, then you play a Migratory Path, or another Paradise, or an Incubation Druid, or whatever, and then play a Gyruda. Gyruda goes and finds you your Spark Double, which Gyruda's again, which goes and gets you your Thassa, Deep Dwelling, which can blink your Spark Double at the end of the turn, which can then get you another one, which eventually gets you your Thassa's Oracle and wins the game, sometimes as early as turn 4 or turn 5, which is absurd and ridiculous.
This is number 1, probably going to be the first one banned. This card is stupid.
Well, there's already 2 that so Gyruda's already been banned. Lutri was the first one banned.
Right, technically, but like
Gyruda was banned because it didn't work right.
They didn't program it right, but like it still works just fine on Arena, and it's still overpowered as all hell. And it's absurd. You're sitting there going, "Here comes 6 mana. Here comes their 6/6 with their cool trigger. They're going to get it no matter what. I sure hope to God they whiff, because if they don't whiff, you're looking at like a whole board of random garbage right in front of you that comes out of freaking nowhere. And
I also really like the mirror, because you can take your opponent's clones.
Oh, yeah.
Which is
Oh.
adorable.
Typical reanimator mirror. You got to board out
Yeah.
your exhumes because you don't want them to get it either.
yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. Like, whatever this card is doing, it's not that, I can't wrath the board and, we keep on playing Magic, right? Okay, fine. It's the fact that every single game, on every single 6 mana fill up, whenever they got 6 mana at the first time for every single game, every single sideboard or no, here he comes every freaking time.
That's why I got 4 Hushbringers in my sideboard now.
I'm keeping it hushy.
Very pleased with myself. Hushbringers, Draneth Magistrates, gonna see a lot of play going forward. A lot of stuff.
Like, we've definitely gotten to the point where companion is the best freaking thing you can do. So now that is a truism, and we all understand it, and we've seen it and we've played it, here comes the other side of that equation, which is, where are the decks that crap all over Gyruda decks, that make them stop doing silly things, that punish them for doing those silly things? Give me all the hate bears. Let the hate flow through you, and make garbage like this stop. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, Ruben, what's your number 1?
My number 1. So, if you had told me that my favorite limited card in the set would be a black common, I would have said, probably not. I don't think that that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But it did, and it was Memory Leak.
Right.
If you had told me that the best constructed standard creature in the set would be a black common from Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths, I would have told you you're out of your gourd, you crazy person. But this is a 4 of in the probably 2 or 3 best decks in Standard right now. My number 1 is Whisper Squad. And it's not, I'm not ironic at all.
Oh
it is
my God.
Legitimately, they printed Squadron Hawk.
Yeah.
Did you know that they printed Squadron Hawk?
A really good
Turns
one.
out they just printed Squadron Hawk in Standard, and it snuck up on everybody. And then now it's just in all of the best decks. Whisper Squad. What's up?
I'm just trying to imagine. Why?
I don't know. I don't know why.
I mean, the art's cool, but like
1/1 for a black mana for a human soldier. It's a common 1/1 human soldier from Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths, and it's the best card in Standard. Colorless and a black. Search your library for a card named Whisper Squad. Put it onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. Priest of the Forgotten Gods.
Mm-hmm.
Call of the Death Dweller. Cruel Celebrant. I mean, it's just an engine in and of itself. It just does everything you want it to do, just like Squadron Hawk. When they first printed Squadron Hawk, people were like, all right, this is cute. It like gets you some value.
Right, it's cute.
But then it took over. This is exactly the same way. And it has the word squad right in the name, too. So it like snuck up on everybody. But now we're here, and it's squad. It's a Whisper Squad world, and we're just living in it.
It's a hell of a Magic card when you sit there and you go, wait a minute. Wait, I can just play and then wait, the next turn let's put the mana in. Wait, and then the next turn put the mana in there. Wait, I have a 1 mana 4/4 worth of power toughness over the next couple turns for free just because I played this one guy?
So here's the other cool thing about this card, which is Crypt Breaker was a 1-drop for 1, like a 1/1 for 1, but it was secretly a 2-drop, right? It could fill out your curve when you needed it.
Sure.
Whisper Squad, not nearly as good as Crypt Breaker, obviously.
Right, but
also fills out your curve when you need it to.
Right. On your first couple turns, no matter what, usually, if you have that on your turn 1, you play your turn 2 is going to find another copy, and then turn 3 you might play a priest or something or whatever. But yeah, the idea you can search up more bodies to throw in ovens, search up more bodies to throw under priests, like search more bodies to go have Fiend Artisan, throw it in the graveyard and go get what you really want just for 2 mana. Actual factual freaking awesome.
I am flabbergasted that this is gonna be this is a Standard All-Star already. I'm shocked.
We're just getting there. Well, let me tell you. So for my number 1, and obviously through the process of elimination, this would be Ruben's number 2. I can't deny
because memes.
Look, I built a whole career on memes, all right? I literally, the magic show was just one like meme after another, and I loved it. I love memes. I love in jokes. I like when Wizards get super clever, and it's not like clever in that they just made a different name for, Helios or whatever. But rather they took something that was sort of culturally relevant. You have to be in on the joke to understand why Shark Typhoon is as cool and funny and interesting and ridiculous.
It's brilliant.
We have flying freaking sharks, which means we have
more than one.
Oh yeah, which means we have Sharknado. We have Sharknado and Magic, and I can't not love Sharknado and Magic. Sharknado and Magic is Shark Typhoon. For a blue and 5 generic mana. It's a rare enchantment. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create an XX blue shark creature token with flying. Yes, our sharks fly now, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. It has Cyclone for a blue, a generic, and X. So you discard this card and draw a card. When you cycle it, you create an XX blue shark creature token with flying. Yes, that gets around to fairy. Yes, that is amazing. This card is good coming, going. You're cycling it, you're playing it, you're putting it in play with your Fires of Invention, and then you're able to cycle it later and still make monsters. I love this freaking thing. It is awesome, and it's my number one. It's a freaking meme. We got the best meme ever in Magic.
Fantastic.
So when I was getting ready for the early access event, I couldn't make it at the last minute because I've been working really hard and I was really tired. But when I was preparing for it, thinking I was going to play in it, I was trying to put this in an enchantress list because we have some sort of enchantment tools in standard. And I was thinking, okay, so let's play, this is something you could probably drop and then you just start casting a bunch of crappy enchantments and then you get sharks and you get other things. And so that's kind of where my mind went with this. But the card is just hilarious. I love that the sharks fly. We also have the Voracious Great Shark, which essentially eats a spell at ETB's counter an artifact or creature spell with flash. And so I love that. I think this is brilliant. Wizards obviously, keeping up with the culture and what people are talking about and what they like. And it's still believable. It is Sharknado, but it's not jumping the shark.
Perfect. Well done. Both
Wow.
funny and well executed.
Wow.
That was really good.
That was impressive.
That was nice. I didn't even see that one coming. Much like a flash shark that can't be countered.
Looks like a Sharknado.
Our chat called this one Decree of Justice on
Yes,
last week's or 2 weeks ago's show.
Yeah.
Because Decree of Justice, of course, cycle end of turn, make a bunch of 1/1s. This makes an XX flying shark. Hugely good. Both modes, the cycling and the actually cast, are very, very good.
Very strong.
The cycling probably better, but both are great. This card it's a great card, and oh, by the way, it's hilarious and fun.
It's a great card. It's fun. It's powerful. I love it.
In your children's card game, if you can't laugh at yourself, if you can't make fun, if you can't be goofy, if you can't make a shark tornado,
right.
Like, what are we even doing here?
I would akin to it like Thor Ragnarok, right? When Thor became a slapstick comedy, you just loved it. It didn't make you not love other serious comic book movies or ones that had big arcs or whatever. But sometimes you can just be goofy and silly, and there's Jeff Goldblum, and let's have some fun with it, right?
Right. This is Ikoria is the Thor Ragnarok of Magic sets.
That's right. I like it. And that was our top 10 Ikoria cards. You'll see them on the screen right now for your review. Take a look at my list, Aaron's list, Ruben's top 10, and we want to hear from you about what card we did not talk about, and we'll select our favorite to win a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com. But before we go, I want to thank my co-host. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ruben.
Companion's busted.
Companion is broke.
It's fine. Give it some time.
Oh my god. Okay.
Do we have to red zone this?
We'll red zone it in 2 days or 2 days ago, depending on when you're watching this.
That's true.
You and the times. You keep blowing our cover.
Tell you what, I'm going to move here to our
We're not live. Spoiler alert. You're not watching this YouTube video live.
There are people who think we are. God bless them. We've been doing this premiere things where when it premieres on Friday morning. And there are some people in the chat that think it's live. And
well, thanks for joining this. Definitely live at, hold on, the 24th of April,
totally.
2020.
24th, yeah. Happy 24th, guys.
Right.
Move here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-hosts, Aaron Campbell and Ruben Bressler. You guys for watching or listening, and I hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmics. Follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online at twitch.tv at Magic Mics, on Twitter at Magic Mics Cast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Talk to us privately at magicmicspodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at magicmicspodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes and Spotify. Or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.